Hi, and welcome to another Garden Gateway virtual gardening workshop. My name is Heather, and this month we'll be talking about how to plant young trees. The spring is a great time to plant new trees in your yard because it's not too hot yet. If you're lucky, there might still be a little bit of rain, and it'll let the tree and the roots establish a bit before the summer heat comes. Now, today we'll be going over the same method that you would use whether you were planting a fruit tree or a shade tree, and we'll be using trees that are available to LA City residents through cityplants.org. So if you're looking for a shade tree or a fruit tree to plant at your home or at your business, visit that site and you can get the trees for free. The supplies that we're going to need today are your tree. Today we're planting an apple tree. You're also going to need a shovel to dig your hole. We have some mulch to put down around the tree once it's planted, and water. Because once our tree's planted, we want to be sure that it gets a nice, deep, thorough watering. We also have stakes in case our tree needs a little extra support. Planting trees in your yard is a really great strategy for reducing energy costs. When you plant your trees in positions around your home that can create shade over your windows, you reduce the amount of heat coming into your home through your windows and ultimately the amount of energy that you need to use to cool your home, saving both energy and money. And while the trees that we're going to plant today are very small, you'll see that this apple tree that's next to me here is only about 2.5 years old. So 2.5 years ago, this tree was the same size of the small apple tree that we're going to plant today. And although it's not casting a ton of shade, I am already in the shade. And if this was positioned about 10 or 15 feet in front of a window, it would start, especially when it's in full foliage, to create shade for the sun coming into the window of a home. Here at the Paul Robeson Community Wellness Center, we have about 25 fruit trees planted on our lot. A mix of apples, peaches, nectarines, mango, cherimoya, guava. And so trees are not only a great way for creating shade and beautifying your yard, but also growing food for long into the future. So where we're going to plant it is in this space here where we've circled, broken out the concrete, and we've provided about a 3.5 foot diameter space to plant our tree. And I'm going to go ahead and dig the hole. All right, so as you can see here, I've dug the hole. It's a little deeper. You want your hole to be about as deep as your plant is in the bucket. I've done mine just a little bit deeper to be sure it fits well. And you want it to be about twice as wide of what you're planting. And then you'll use your soil to fill in, but better that it's a little too big to start than a little too small. Before I put the tree in, I actually got a little bit of compost. And this is just a little bit more nutrient dense. I'm going to put that down at the bottom of the hole so that the tree has some nice rich soil to go into. And if you're getting your plant from City Trees, they're also going to give you a little fertilizer nugget, a little plant food to help your tree get established. And so I'm going to go ahead and put that down in there as well. Flatten that out. Put that down in there, and as it waters, that'll dissolve down at the tree's roots. Now I'm going to pull this out of the pot. First thing I want to do is remove this small stake. This is there to help support the tree while it's being transported and when it's first growing. So I'll take all of this off. If your plant needs a stake once it's in the ground, you'll use something a little bit different. I'm also going to go ahead and remove the tag. Now this tells me some information about my tree. It tells me the variety. This is a semi-dwarf Fuji apple. Tells me how much sun it wants, how much water it likes, and it gives me some information about the rate of growth and how high and how wide I can expect the tree to be. It's good to keep this as a reference, both to remember the variety and in case you ever want to check on any of those stats about your tree. I'm going to go ahead and pull this out. Now to get it out, I'm going to tip it a little bit and kind of squish the pot because I want to loosen up the roots. You can also take a look and see if any of your roots had come out the bottom. These haven't, but if they had, you could kind of loosen those up so that they come out of the holes okay when it's time to plant it. All right, here we go. I'm going to grab the pot from the bottom. There's my tree. Now I want to come in here a little bit. This soil is pretty loose, but if your roots are bound up at all, you can just give them a little gentle massage, help them get the message that they're free of that pot and they're ready to spread out. You don't want to loosen up the entire root ball, but you can just loosen up the tight bottoms and the tight edges to help the roots realize that they're no longer bound to the space of that pot. All right, so here we are. You can see this is the root ball down here, and I want to have my soil level be about that high when I fill it in. I don't want to come up here because I don't want to cause any rot or decay on this branch. So I'll have the soil come up about this high. All right, I'm going to start backfilling this in with soil now. All right, so I filled in with soil, and I'm going to actually come in here with my hands, smooth it all out. And you can give it a little shove because you've got gaps and holes in there. You want to fill that in. And then over time, when you water, the soil also will settle. Now in this case, I see that my tree is still, it's a little sideways. It's not quite strong enough yet. I'm going to go ahead and put the stakes in to help hold it up while the root system gets established, and eventually the tree can hold itself up. There we go. And as we water over time, the soil will get a little more compact to hold that root ball in, and the roots themselves will settle into the soil and hold the tree up. And you can test it every now and then and see if your tree is ready for your stake to come out. Now the last thing you want to do in preparation for watering is put down some mulch. Now mulch is going to help with a couple things. It's going to keep your soil shaded so that water doesn't evaporate, so that when you water, the soil doesn't dry out as quickly. It'll also create a little bit of like a berm, they call it, or a buffer, so that when you water, the water stays to the center where you want it to go down by the roots and doesn't run off across your yard, or in this case onto our parking lot. So I'm going to go ahead and shake this around the tree. Do half over here. Half around that way. That's all you really need. Now, I'm going to put a little bit down here in the center, very thin, to keep the soil shaded. Very little, but most of the mulch is in this little donut shape at a bit of a distance. Because while you want water to be concentrated in the center, you don't want mud and excessive moisture to sit right up on the base of your tree, because it can cause rot and disease. So you want to be sure your tree can also get air into the soil and down to its roots, because they do need to breathe. So down here I just have a very thin layer, hardly any at all, that's just shading this soil. And then the majority of the mulch is in this nice donut shape, and it'll hold in the water. So your new tree, your young tree, is going to want about 10 to 15 gallons of water per week when it's just getting established. If you're planting a fruit tree, it's a little bit more like 15 to 20. But you do want to be checking your soil, especially in the spring when temperatures are so erratic, and there is the chance of rain or morning dew. because you don't want your soil to dry out completely, but you don't want it to be muddy. So the best way to know if your tree needs to be watered is not always on a schedule, like say I water my tree every Monday or every third day or something like that, but it's more to get down, pull back your mulch and get your hand in there and feel your soil. Obviously this is very dry. You want your soil, it should stick together a little, but not be muddy. So this clearly needs some water. But that's the best way to tell. If you dig down and your soil is still really sticking together and making a little bit of a mud cake, then maybe you can wait another day. But you do need to be sure to dig down a couple inches because the top layer of your soil is always going to dry out and you're trying to see what the condition is down by the roots. So don't be shy to dig down in there a little bit and see what's going on. Okay, here I go. In this case, I'm using a bucket. Another great way to water is to get your hose and put it on a very low drip and let it just sit and water. The way you can test it is put your hose on a low drip and then put it on like a 5 or a 10-gallon bucket and see how long it takes your hose to fill that bucket. Say it takes your hose 20 minutes to fill that bucket, then you know if you leave your drippy hose on your tree for 20 minutes, then you're getting about 10 gallons of water. In this case today, we're doing it with this bucket, but I'm not going to just dump it all super fast. You can see here it's pooling up. I'm going to give it some water. I'm going to wait a little bit for that to settle down and then I'll come and do it again. If you're enjoying these videos and using it to support growing your garden and planting trees, please take pictures and tag us on social media at csuinc.org. We definitely want to see what you're growing. If you're in South Central, please register for our Garden Gateway program and our monthly free giveaways of plants and seeds and other garden materials. And if you live in LA, check out cityplants.org and get free trees for your yard, both shade and fruit trees. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next month.